I said father of the bride, I'm the only one stood up. So I guess that must be me. Well, a few notes, because you need it. So, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, friends, a very warm welcome to Michelle and Paul's wedding. And I hope you're enjoying it as much as we've been enjoying it up at the top table. So, as Michelle's father, I get to make the first speech. So I'm the warm-up act for Paul and Chris, which I know were speeches you're really wanting to hear. And I can assure you both Paul and Chris are absolutely desperate to give.
Oh yes.
Now, these events don't just happen, as I'm sure you appreciate. And I'd like to say a massive thank you to Liz, to Shirley and Ian, as well as to Michelle and Paul, for working so hard to make this day special. And I think it's probably worth at this stage saying thank you to Chris for organising the stag weekend, and to Alex and Faye for the hen, although probably best to say no more about those events with children. I think we should also say thank you to the staff at the bridge who have looked after us so well. I think the service we've had and the attentiveness of it all has been excellent, so would you join me in saying thank you very much to the staff? So having got those sort of formalities over, we'll come to the main bit of the speech. On the way over, Michelle asked me what I was going to talk about, and she did ask me not to mention a number of things. She said, first of all, no Scouse jokes.
Yeah, I thought you might get shot.
Take it.
She said not to mention any previous boyfriends. But it's really nice to see so many of you here today, especially on table 2. And finally, she asked me not to mention about setting fire to the carpet. So I'll just go through, and I think, well, that's the scales. This could be a very short speech. However, I had got prepared option 2. Somewhere. It's upside down. Who did that? So today, as you can imagine, I'm a very proud father. And like any good father, I carry a picture of Michelle and my children in my wallet, where my money used to be. Now, as you may realise, Michelle is my favourite daughter. So on the same basis, that makes Paul my favourite son-in-law. Only son-in-law. But today I see today about gaining not just a great son-in-law, I hope it's getting rid of all those 50 box sets of Friends videos which have been in the bedroom since Michelle had this affinity to the Friends TV series. Now, today is of course a celebration, not just of the love that has united Shelley and Paul in their marriage, but also for you all as family and friends who have created, moulded and influenced the lives of these two special people. So my wife, Liz, heckling, I don't know. We'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Paul's parents, Shirley and Ian, and to relatives and friends from both families. As parents, all you really want is for your children to find happiness. And it's wonderful to see today two people who are so much in love. So I'd like to thank you all for coming along and playing your part in making today special. Some of you have travelled considerable distances, I know, travelling from Australia, from Spain, France, Scotland, and even Alderley Edge, which is and a real trial by public transport, as the last bus through Prestbury, I believe, was in 1963. And we could only get here in cars from the 1960s. Oh. I'm sure you'll agree, though, that Michelle looks absolutely beautiful today. Yeah. And we shouldn't show favouritism in these days of equality, and I think Paul scrubbed up pretty well as well. Although I think it's probably fair to say I did see him in a different light, dressed as a white and orange rabbit.
Mostly orange, wasn't it?
It came back pretty black.
And I think it's probably fair to say we've all been enchanted by the Flower Girls and Page Boy in their outfits as well, and how wonderfully behaved they've been until now. Now, it's not that long ago that Michelle was sat on a bar stool in Spain, surrounded by admiring waiters, sipping cocktails. Now, I'm not referring to the trip 2 weeks ago. I'm actually referring to when she was 2 years old. And I think that was the first time I realised I was going to have my work cut out as a father. And how right I was. Anyway, I could see why Michelle was attracted to Paul as soon as she mentioned back in 2010 her new boyfriend managed a pub. And when she added he was from Liverpool, I did what any caring parent would do and carried out a few background checks. And Mr. Paul Murray. Now this is so much easier these days with the likes of Google, Facebook, Twitter, Friends Reunited, MI5, GCHQ and the Police National Computer. But nothing bad showed up. So I thought a bit more investigation was called for. So, having lived with Farragher for the last 26 years, Michelle, I thought you'd appreciate a brief history of Murren. Now, Murren is actually a very old Scottish name, with links back to King Duncan in 11,000 AD, with names such as Murray and Moray as derivatives of Murren. And now Murren is actually more common in Ireland. And more recently, it's actually been used as a girl's name. So, it's interesting. So there's actually some strong Celtic connections with Farragher being Manx. That's Manx as in the Isle of Man, not Manx as in Scouser. But unlike Farragher, the Murrens have a family motto. And it's a very apt one with today in mind. Now I wonder which of the Murrens might know what it is. No? Well, it's actually... their motto is Tout Prêt, which translates as quite ready. It seems quite appropriate today.
Why is it French?
Eh? It's not on the script, so must
have been on Wikipedia.
Anyway, the final check I decided to carry out was to find out what famous people there were called Murren. And that came back, and you can Google this now on the tables, but there are no famous people called Murren. Until now. So, Mrs. Michelle Murren, you can't hide behind your new name. Now, obviously, many of the stories I could tell about Michelle growing up can't be repeated with children present. But I'd like to share a couple that can. Just.
The only two.
Now, actually, it's quite interesting, but Michelle has always shown an interest in hair. And I think this was borne out until she was about 20 months old. She didn't have very much. And unless dressed in pink, she often kept getting mistaken for being a boy.
That's really upsetting.
So now, she's turned out to be a hairdresser of some repute. In fact, I'm not sure how much of a coincidence it is, but it looks to me that over 50% of people in the room are actually clients of Hairband. And I wouldn't be surprised if she isn't claiming this as a corporate hospitality. To the other 50%, I think you'll find the contact details on your name card. Nearly finished. Not yet. So, now, whilst training to be a hairdresser, Michelle had a habit of dramatically changing her hairstyle.
Oh no.
From her beautiful natural hair that we see today, she had a habit of coming back with it being short and black to short and bleached blonde. And to be confronted on the doorstep with such radical changes and said, "Do you like my hair?" Was actually a difficult one to answer, because in the majority of cases the answer was no. But you can't really say that. However, I do feel vindicated because even the bleached blonde look Michelle didn't like, and she's been doing her utmost to hide pictures of that look ever since. However, I'm pleased to say copies are available.
That's not good.
Not good. Now, Michelle has grown up with three brothers, as you may know, who she cares for deeply. But she's always had to stick up for herself, which isn't a surprise, really, considering the number of WWF wrestling moves she's endured from them. However, on a more serious note, there were in fact 3 events back in 1998 which I think really demonstrate Michelle's character and personality. Still at primary school, aged just 10, she organised and raised over £700 for Christie's Hospital from holding a sponsored down. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but actually, instead of there being favours on the tables today, Michelle and Paul have made a donation to cancer research. There are wristbands available and a collection box over there on the table. And it'd be wonderful if we could raise a similar amount today, as Michelle did back in 1998. So I think that's a really nice and noble gesture. So let's see what we can do for these two. The second thing was Michelle won a gold medal in the Manchester Youth Games, playing hockey. What is probably more of a surprise is she'd never played hockey before. She was one of the few people from Stockport in the team, because most of them lived in Cheshire and Derbyshire, because they went to private schools that played hockey, whereas the primary schools in Stockport didn't. She missed most of the training because we were actually on holiday in America, but she still managed to win a gold, and I think that's no mean feat. So she can really sort of blag it and pull it off.
I do just blag it. We
Substitute.
And the final thing, which I think demonstrates her character probably more so than the others, was we had a phone call from school, aged just 10, because she was caught snogging a boy in the playground. So I think it's probably fair to say that a famous, or more likely infamous, Murren now joins your Murren clan.
I've given you a bad name now.
So I'd just like to say that I've been happily married for 33 years, and will give you both the full... Sorry. I should say, I've been married for 33 years and I would happily give you the following advice.
She's pissed. She doesn't know what she's doing.
Pushing your luck, mate.
So to Paul, a great philosopher once said, a man who gives in when he's